If you're the kind of person who wakes up, knocks out a 3-mile run, meditates, showers, eats a protein breakfast, and is out the door in 27 minutes flat with your briefcase and a hot coffee, yeah, this podcast is probably not for you. But if you've ever found yourself sniffing shirts from your laundry pile because you forgot to do laundry last night and you're already late to work, well, we might have something in common. Let's talk. Hi, and welcome to A Solo Person's Guide to ADHD, the podcast for solo adults navigating ADHD one glorious laundry pile at a time. I'm Christine Dunning, a master certified life coach and the owner of Two Cats Coaching, where messy routines are welcomed, encouraged, and maybe even celebrated. Today's episode is called From Chaos to Kind of Order, Reframing Routines When You Live Alone. We're diving into something every solo adult with ADHD grapples with: routines. Or maybe I should say the idea of routines. For someone with ADHD, why are routines so hard? Well, let's start with executive functioning. I'm going to come back to this concept a lot because for ADHD brains, starting, switching, and sustaining tasks is a little bit like trying to, herd cats. Routines require consistency. And let's be honest, many of us don't do very well with consistency. It's too routine. But here's the thing. Routines are really just systems. And systems mean your life has less chaos. And who doesn't want that? Creating some automation in your life reduces decision fatigue. Decision fatigue refers to the fact that many of us have to make an endless amount of decisions every day. Boy, when I was a teacher, it was an insane amount of decisions. That's why teachers come home and collapse at the end of the day. So by automating some of those more routine tasks, that frees up your brain for other, more complicated decisions. Ideas of things you can try to automate are things like meals, eating the same breakfast or lunch every day, or maybe rotating just a few. Your actual morning routine. What do you do when you get up? What you wear every day. Have you ever wondered why Steve Jobs and Mark Zuckerberg wore the same outfits every day? It's not because they lacked fashion sense. Well, who knows? But it was definitely to avoid decision fatigue. But here's that ADHD twist. ADHD brains crave novelty. We're wired for dopamine, and repetition kills that dopamine buzz. So while routines are helpful, they can also be boring. Now, what happens when we break a routine? For those of us with ADHD, we often slide straight into a shame spiral. And that makes it so much harder for us to restart and get back on the horse, to say. So that's why I want to introduce a slightly different approach. The concept of practices. So a routine we generally think of as a fixed set of actions. Like the Beatles song. Wake up, get out of bed, drag a comb across my head. I don't know about you, but I often think in song lyrics. A practice, on the other hand, is simply an intentional action that you keep returning to. It's more flexible, more forgiving, and it's made to evolve and change. Now, I'm a singer and a pianist, and so practicing is a huge part of my life. I don't expect to play a piece of music perfectly the first or even the fifth time. Sometimes I need to rework things. Right now I'm actually dealing with a bit of a finger injury. and I'm having to adjust my playing. The point isn't perfection. The point is returning again and again. It's slowly building and rebuilding those skills. And that's what I want for you, is a chance for you to build skills and practices that serve you. Don't worry about trying to be perfect. Don't worry about how many days can I do this. By the way, I broke my Wordle streak today, so there we go. Know that you didn't fail. You've paused. You can always restart. Now, one thing to think about is that instead of overhauling your entire morning routine, say, ask yourself, what's a small thing you can do that can change today? And so this is the concept of a micro practice, taking the smallest element of something and just changing that. Instead of overhauling your entire morning routine, ask yourself, what's one small thing I can do today? Now, as a pianist, best practices for practicing mean taking a difficult passage and reducing it to its smallest element. I'll look at the notes and rhythms first, of course, then my fingerings, my phrasing, even how I hold my hands and arms. Eventually, I'll figure out how to make the passage flow, and then I simply attach it to the surrounding piece. Try doing the same thing with your personal routines. Think about really small ways to create change that benefits your life. Now, this brings me to one of my favorite ADHD tools, the power of one. Just one thing. Again, it reduces overwhelm, builds momentum, and it gives you a dopamine hit. So, big thought. You already have habits. They may not be intentional, and they may not be the habits you want, but they exist. The idea is to start to tweak those habits into things you actually want to accomplish, not just try to throw it all away and start fresh. Change the things you already do, one step at a time. You're much more likely to accomplish your goals. If you haven't read Atomic Habits by James Clear, I want you to stop everything and go put it on your list, or go grab it off your shelf, or put it on your Audible. I actually have it on both. I have a physical book and the Audible book. It's the clearest, best written book about how to create systemic change. I wanted to quote him a few things. One of my favorite quotes is, "You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems." Let me say that again. You do not rise to the level of your goals. You fall to the level of your systems. It's systems that matter more than goals. Systems are what we put into place so that we can actually accomplish those goals. Build systems that support you and not shame you. Now, in my personal opinion, the best technique in the book is what's called habit stacking. That's kind of what I've been alluding to here. Habit stacking is taking an already existing habit and putting another one immediately after it, or before. For example, if you already have the habit of stumbling into the kitchen and making coffee in the morning, use that time when it's brewing to do something else, like empty the dishwasher or wipe down the counters. You're already there. Instead of standing there scrolling on your phone, do something with that time. Another way to look at it is to make your new habit convenient. For example, if your habit is to walk in your back door and kick off your shoes right there in a big pile, don't expect to try to create a new habit where your shoes need to be put in your bedroom closet, which is on the other side of your house. get a mat or a shoe rack or a basket and put it next to the door where you've already been dumping your shoes. Now, at least, they'll be neat and tidy. Personally, I'm a bit obsessed with trying out new systems and practices. It's something I like to play around with a lot. So, for example, here's a chart that I recently created for myself. You can see it's not even filled out. I just printed this one today. Because the honest truth is, I don't always follow the systems and practices that I'm trying to work on. The number of times I've started a new routine only to drop it in days or, frankly, even hours is downright staggering. But I keep trying. Why? Because sometimes they stick. And when they do, my life gets measurably better. So I wanted to share a couple of things that I have figured out that have worked for me. After many, many times when I misplaced my keys, I bet none of you have done that, I created the practice that when I get home, I hang them immediately on a hook by my back door. When I'm out and about, they're either in a pants pocket or they're in the exact same pocket of my purse. And by the way, I have one purse, and when that one wears out, I buy an identical purse because I like this one a lot. And I don't have to redo things. If by some chance I find them in my pocket later at home, I go to the hook and I hang them up. I don't stop or say go. Prior to this, I used a large lanyard for a long time, and my keys hung around my neck. And the truth is, I haven't lost my keys in a really long time. I always know where they are. Years ago, I used to have terrible credit, and a lot of it's because I had a hard time paying my bills on time. So I worked on that, and now I pay my bills once a month, all at once, and my credit has skyrocketed. We're going to talk about this in a lot of detail on several upcoming podcasts. I think this one's kind of funny. And when I tell it to my friends, they're always really surprised. But do you use your driving time to think out loud and have imaginary car conversations? Well, I do. A lot. Which is why when I go places that I go all the time, especially the grocery store, because my grocery store's got quite large and it's got a large parking lot, I park in the same aisle every time without fail. If I have to park way at the far end of the aisle, I don't care. It's the same aisle because I can't tell you how often I've come out of a store and looked around and gone, where did I put the car? So this way, if I'm lost in thought, as I often am when I arrive at the store, I know where my car is. I don't lose it anymore. So let's do a quick wrap up. First of all, a reminder, start tiny. Forget about grand overhauls. What's the smallest possible version of what you want? What's the smallest change you can make today that'll move you in a positive direction? And then attach that micro practice to something you already do. For example, after I brush my teeth, I'm going to do 5 wall push-ups because I want to work on exercising. Decide you want to do 10? Great. Don't want to? Those 5 still count. Next, I didn't really talk about this before, but make it visible. Help yourself remember your new habit. Put up sticky notes, set alarms on your phone, use habit trackers even. Anything besides just trying to remember it with your ADHD brain. Now, pro tip. Because you have ADHD, your brain will tune out all those things after just a few days. So you're going to have to mix them up or restart them until that habit is secure, which they say is usually a minimum of 3 weeks. Let's look one more time at that power of one, and here's another way you can use it. You can use it to set some larger intentions for your day. Every morning or the night before, if that's easier for you, ask yourself, what's the one thing I want to accomplish today? I'll be honest, mine was recording this podcast. I'm still new at this and it's still hard. So I wrote it down because that kinesthetic act of writing will actually help you remember. It will get your brain to refocus to it. Lastly, if you miss a day, shrug it off. But don't wait too long because otherwise you're starting to build the wrong habit. Another quote that James Clear says is that missing once is an accident. Missing twice is the start of a new habit. Don't start a new habit because you messed up. Make it intentional. A reminder, you don't need to organize your whole life in one swoop. You just need to begin. And begin again. And begin again, because that's our ADHD brains. Don't let failure stop you. Since we struggle with systems, you're going to have more failures than successes. But your successes will be life-changing. Remember, you already have habits. Let's make them intentional ones. So, I'd love to hear from you. What's your one micro practice that you can start right away? I'd love it if you send me an email or leave me a comment below. I'd like to hear what you're trying. And if this episode made you feel a little less distracted, please subscribe and share it with another person with ADHD. You're not as alone as you think. If you have a topic idea or a question, my email is christine@twocatscoaching.com. While you're there, visit my website, and if you'd like, sign up for your free 30-minute coaching session. And hey, if you liked the episode, rate and review. It helps more solo ADHD adults find their way here. The Solo Person's Guide to ADHD is written and performed by me, Christine Dunning of Two Cats Coaching. The music, also me, because ADHD people wear a lot of hats. Sometimes we wear them all at once. Join me next time when we talk about ADHD and the myth of the lone wolf. How to get help when you need it without feeling like you have to do everything all by yourself. Thanks for being here. Be kind to your brain. I'll see you next time.